What's up, everyone? This is the official show here, the Patrick Carr Show. I'm with my boy John over here. We are live from Orlando. And this, in truth, has been the second time that me and you have sat down. In the world of technology, everyone, unfortunately, there are things that go wrong.
Yeah.
And our last podcast together, although amazing, never made it on the air.
The greatest story
that.
never told.
The greatest video never seen, if you want to look at it that way. Man, I appreciate coming back. I consider you and Ty and your whole crew to be friends. So I think there's a lot of value you can bring to the viewership here and the people that listen. How are you?
Wonderful, dude. Great.
Let me tell you something I've always liked about you, man, is that when you come into a room, and this is a lesson for anybody, you know, like you step foot out here and you stop and you talk to people. Right. You never pass someone up and you don't just say hello. You ask them about how they're doing. You shake their hand. You pay attention. You always been that way, John, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that was kind of ingrained in me, right, is that you got to care about the people around you. You know, no matter what you do, whether it's work, life, football team, you know, you generally got to care around, you know, with the people around you.
Yeah.
So.
But, I mean, a lot of people say they care. You know, you run into these people.
Yep.
You're talking to them, and their eyes are glossed over, and they're just waiting for the next thing they're going to say.
Yep.
But the genuineness that it comes from you, like I think about a lot of business owners wonder why people can't relate to them. Yeah. They wonder why, you know, they can't get somebody to buy into their company culture.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't really believe it, or I just got to think that that's something unique in you that makes you care the way that you do, brother.
So it's character, I would say. So character and integrity are separate in my mind, right? So integrity is doing the right thing, but you can do the right thing if somebody's looking. Character is who you are when no one's looking. So by definition with that, like, and something else too that I've learned along the way too, with Chris Voss, actually, I get ingrained in all his stuff, but the 7-38-55 rule, right?
Talk to me.
So it doesn't really matter what you say, right? It's how you say it and the body language when you say it. So 7% of what you say matters. 38% is how you say it, tone of voice, inflection, all that good stuff, and then the body language that goes with it. So we speak more with our body than what we do with our words. So have you ever listened to a guy and you're like, man, he really knows what he's talking about. There's something about him I don't trust.
Yeah.
It's because the words and the body language is not matching up.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways we go with that. Like, I think about the situation, too.
Yeah.
Like, my body language would be different if the situation was different. You know, you could walk into the same situation, but for a different reason. Like, one time you're being hired for a job, maybe the next time you think you're going to be terminated for the job. And the situation is going to determine how I intake the information that's being given to me.
Right.
So you gotta have the right body language, the right tone for the situation at hand.
Correct. Yeah.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. 7%, huh?
Yeah. So it's 7-55 and the 38. So he teaches that too, and that was from the FBI side, right? So when he was doing hostage negotiations, like they wound up learning this new method. And when you implement it into your life, like as a strategy, it's not meant to manipulate anybody or anything. But it's meant to really understand that when I'm looking at somebody, I'm watching their body language more than I'm listening to what they're saying. Because they got to believe in what they're saying, first of all. That's where the passion comes from. So it's not really something that I train myself to do. I train myself to watch, right?
Yeah, so many people, I think, are worried, though, in fact, about what they look like, about what they're saying, how they are perceived, that they're not willing to, in fact, look at the other person.
Yeah.
You know, look at how, because they don't even pay attention.
Yeah.
Because it's just, how are they looking at me? Not caring about how the other person is doing, how they're receiving their information. Sometimes people would be very wise to do that, because how you give them information may change if you'll just take 5 seconds to go, how do I think this person's feeling?
Right.
And no one seems to want to do that.
So life's an onion, okay? Yeah. And this is a Shrek thing, actually, right? Okay. So life's an onion, right? The more layers you peel back, the more it stinks, right? And the more it makes you cry. So if you're able to pull those layers back and just be raw and vulnerable and really be with your people or the people around you, like, this is our tribe, right? This is why, I mean, the roofers here, they're our tribe, if you will, right? They go through the same hardships, the same stuff, the same everything that we're going through. And if you could just be vulnerable in the moment and transparent, Like maybe I've gone through an issue that they're going through right now, and just by being able to be open and talking to them, it'll help them. And it's paid back. It's not that I do it to pay it back. Like I got a good friend, is Corey Combs, and like I've helped him with different things, and then like I call him like, dude, like I need some help. Like, what do you do with X, Y, and Z? And he's like, man, like I got you on this, because he's done that. So when you can lean on other people and know that you don't know it all, right? And that you've got a network that you can tap into, like it's okay to tap back into it one day, but you give without expecting anything in return. And I think that's where most people mess up. They want to give, but they got to have a return. What's my ROI to give my life and my passion to Patrick, right? I don't need anything back out of it. I want to see Patrick have a better life and a better world.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I see a lot of individuals who say they're giving, but when they don't receive something that comes in return, it's, hey, listen, I gave so much to that, and resentment tends to build in. And I think it really is going into something with a mindset of that. The other day I had to terminate an employee. And in order to terminate that employee, we had to pay more money than what we should have to pay to get them to leave.
Yep.
They wanted some things that were ridiculous, but that's what happened. And somebody in my company says, yeah, you know what? We had to pay that money to get rid of them. That's all we had to pay to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so I think the perspective matters.
Right.
You can look at that and say, well, I had to pay all that money. What did I get out of it? Or you can look at it and say, I had to pay that money, and now I get an opportunity to do so much more in the future.
Right.
Right? And perspective is key when you're giving from the beginning.
Well, it's about joy. So everybody brings joy into your life, and you've heard this, either when they walk in the room or out of the room. Which one would you want to be?
Yeah.
Right. So if you can ingrain that and bring that in, like I want to be a joy to other people when I walk in the room. That's the mindset. I had this cool paradigm growing up with my dad and my grandpas. So one of my grandpas, amazing man, but he was giving to a fault. He would just give, and then like I didn't understand it, and my dad was a little bit on the opposite side of this. He's like, Dad, like they're bleeding you dry. So like when to kind of put it into perspective, when he passed away, he had like 22 properties, right? And so like in our world, we'll say, well, these guys are crackheads and they do this and they do that, and they're just taking advantage of you, they're just stealing money off of you. He said, and it changed my life at an early age. It's not my job to know what's going to happen with that money or that time that I give. It's just my job to give it. Right? It's not up to me to judge what happens. And then, again, it was to a fault later on in life. So when he passed away, there was 20-some properties, and Dad's going through it, trying to figure it out. And so Dad's knocking on doors, like, "Hey, rich dude, my grandma needs money, and the rich dude." And so they're trying to figure out, like, and so Dad was knocking on doors, and they're like, "Well, wait, we've lived here for 2 years and paid no rent, and Billy usually brings groceries."
Oh, wow.
My grandpa would bring him groceries and let him live in the house rent-free for years.
Wow.
And it wasn't it was eye-opening and shocking at the same time, but because you're thinking like, wow, like that was a man that lived selflessly for others. And, if you can find a way to do that and still help people, that's what you got to do. Like, but he always said, like, my house is built, it's paid for, everything's here. I don't need anything. And he gave the last 20 years of his life, he just gave it away. And it was amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you there. What I would caution viewers to look at that as is that last part is key. He had the house paid for. He had the things he needs. Too many people hide their weak men or weak women.
Yeah.
And then they hide behind the fact that they give. I'm just a giving person. People take advantage of me.
100.
Get your own house in order so that you can give.
Exactly.
A poor person or somebody that doesn't have work, or you're not collecting rent on your rental properties, you can't give crap.
Can't give crap.
Because you haven't got your own house in order.
Correct.
So I think that last part is key for guests. They understand, how can I give more and not be taken advantage of? Well, you cannot be taken advantage so you can give more.
Well, it's the capacity. What can you give now, right? So, so we had this thing that was it's the 3 T's of life: time, talent, and treasure, which we talked about this once before.
I know.
But time, talent, and treasure all plays into this. There's 3 things that you can give to somebody, right? And the most valuable is time, right? So, but I can, so like from the employee side of this and from the friend side of this, it depends on how you look at it. So I can go give you my talent and do it for you. I can give you money because you're in a hard spot. But if I give you my time and teach you how to do it and you gain that talent, right, now you go make money yourself. I mean, that's a long way to say, like, you know, like if you give a man a fish or you teach him to fish.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but it's more about time, because time is the most valuable asset we have. We can't make more time. We can substitute. You're always trading time, right? So like in 2021, whenever I got COVID in October, and my dad had got sick and went into the hospital. I was bad. I was in the hospital for about 10 days. I didn't even know. And then between that time until he actually passed away, right after Christmas, but I was actually able to get enough strength up. And I know it sounds weird, right? 'Cause I'm a big guy, burly, whatever. Like, dude, COVID, I mean, it kicked my butt. But so that time from Thanksgiving, when I was finally able to get out of the house, I was driving, it was about 2.5 hours to go to where he was at in the what do you call it? The nursing home at the time, right? The second step home out of ICU. And so I was driving 2.5 hours one way to spend 4 hours to drive the 2.5 back. Luckily that I had the capacity that, you know, with my partner Ty and what he has, you know, helped us do, I was able to trade time. I could spend that whole day to go do that and then make up the next day, you know, and go back to work and take care of the team. But we had built a team that allowed us to step back out of the company for a time and a period while I was sick.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a cool testimony of like how nothing burned down on the company, right? Like we built the proper team that gave us that time to go spend it when you need to spend it the most. And that's where I think a lot of guys try to, or they start to fall short, is they're afraid to pass on and delegate, right? So that goes all the way back into systems and processes and this. And I don't trust anybody, to be honest. I trust the process that we have, and you put somebody into that process. I trust the process.
See, I'm working through this in my head as you talk about time.
Yeah.
That I look at it that it perhaps is the most valuable thing because it's the most valuable to the most valuable person.
Correct.
Let me okay. A valuable person values your time more than they're going to value your money.
Yep.
All right. Because they understand that you have value and that they can learn from that, and that's going to save them more time.
Right.
And I think that that's where it becomes interesting, is that if you're only a person that has money, do you have as much value as a person who can give you more time?
Correct.
And so these are the kind of things I love talking to you about, because I think that what you will find is that a person's value in life, how the world perceives them, the person that can give you more time in your life, or the ability to do things in less time, can give you more time to do the things that you love, that person will have a higher value in this world. Yep. Put on their time.
Yep.
So I agree with you that I've used the T word now enough, but I think there's some real, there's something real about looking at the world that way, and you will be paid and compensated according to how valuable the time you give.
Yeah. And to add on that too, so like there's because like I do consulting and 99% of it's just free, right? But I see who values the time and actually implements the stuff that we talk about. And I'm not saying that I'm the best guy in the world to give you advice from, you know, so that's why I like to do it, because when people are struggling, and I don't care if it's in their life or their business or whatever, like I want to say I've been there, or hopefully I haven't, but most of the time I can say I've been there and struggled, at least something, you know, it's similar. But when it comes down with that time element, when somebody just like you said, doesn't value my time, you know, like, hey, listen, like I'm on a schedule most days. Hey, listen, I got time between 12 and 12:30. Let's chat. And then I hear 3 days later, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about it. They don't value my time, just like you said. I don't put any more into that, right? I don't pour myself into it. I pour myself into the people that value the time, because time is valuable for me. Like I want to give as much as I can to everybody as often as we can, right? But time is the most valuable asset.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more on that one. And folks, we're going to talk about Ugly Roof in a second. You hear me talk about him all the time on this show. This is the guy right here, and I get Ty over there. So we'll hear all about Ugly Roof in just a few minutes, but I'm just catching up with this. I hope you find it valuable. And if you do, leave us a comment, subscribe, of course. But this man right here brings a lot more value to the show than just talking about how to rejuvenate roofs. Let me ask you this, man. What are you seeing right now? You know, I always try to talk to blue-collar entrepreneurs. You do a lot of consulting out there. I tend to continue to believe that the same problems tend to be happening across the country with contractors, and they just don't know it. Everyone I sit down with seems to have the same issues. Or do you see anything different happening out there? Do you see any different approaches? Or is things just kind of par for the course for the past year and a half, 2 years?
So, I mean, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a loaded question.
It's a lot to unpack there. So, there's a lot in the industry that's changing, obviously. Here's two things. People don't like where they're at, and they don't like change. So, let that resonate a minute. Yeah. They don't like where they're at, and they don't like change. If you don't change, you're going to die, right? Whether it means that your company goes out of business or whatever, like you got to change. It's either growing or dying, right? So, yeah. But things are changing, you know. The thing that I see mostly is it's more of an arrogance thing. Like I've done it this way for however many years. I know what I'm doing. Those guys are going to go out of business. I mean, it just point blank. I mean, there's nothing else that you can say. If they're not coachable. So it doesn't matter which realm that you're at. If you're $1 million contractor, $100 million contractor, the guy that's 100 typically was coachable.
Yes.
Right. He found a mentor, and every mentor has a season. Right. So like I even tell guys that when I'm mentoring, like, hey, listen, like I'm a season. Like I might be just for this period of your status, and then I can't help you the rest of the way. Like, I'm still working on that myself. Right. But, so like every mentor has a season. The thing that I would love to see more of in this industry, though, is the mentorship part. Is guys that just get out there and just be genuine and just help, right? Just help. Like if somebody has an issue, like all the crap you see on Facebook and in these groups and stuff, like I'm in there, I see it, I comment. I've never tried to be negative, but like there's no reason to be negative. If somebody's asking a question, they're asking a question, and so it winds up being like this culture of attacking people. Like it's this bullying crap that's just stupid. Like we're grown men here. We're all trying to feed our families, right? We're all trying, like, it's not a stupid question, right? Should I use this shingle or that one? It doesn't matter, right? Just if you use it, use their instructions, right? Yeah. So that's the way I would look at it. Like do your thing, do your company, and just start being positive again. Like I would love to see positive mentorship. Guys that, my challenge, if I can point out there to everybody that's watching here, find 5 people a year that you mentor. I don't care what it is. If it's a kid that you coach, if it's people in your organization, if it's another contractor, if it's competition, right? Take competitors in. Find 5 people a year and mentor them, right? And mentorship is not like it's not like I'm telling you what to do. It's like, hey, like it's an exchange of, hey, listen, I've been through some of this stuff. What's some things that you're struggling with that maybe we can help? Right?
Yeah, I think that, go back to your question about, let's say, a CRM or something on Facebook. It's the right question and the wrong platform.
Right.
And, we talk about 5 people you should mentor. I think that an individual should look for 5 people that they trust. Well, yeah. Not 5 mentors for them, but 5 people they trust.
Yep.
So if they went to you and we had Oberg Roofing on, and they, a couple others, the Jason Oberg Roofing, let's just say Martin Pettigrew,
right?
Then maybe Chris Porosky down there.
Yeah.
And you had those 5 guys.
Yep.
And you were a roofer, and you could call on one of those or multiple of those guys to say, what's the best CRM?
Yeah.
The problem is that when people take to these Facebooks groups and messages and they ask questions like that, and they get 15, 100 different answers, and they haven't gotten anywhere with that. Yeah. Plus, you don't know the type of company that's giving you an answer.
Right.
Maybe perhaps during a different season, as you mentioned, than what they are in.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a bad place, right question in the wrong place. But nobody seems to want to, nobody seems to want to mentor. Nobody seems to want to go find somebody who they trust to answer that question.
And to mentor them.
Lazy. And I think that's another reason why Dimitri here is so popular.
Right.
Is because he does give answers to those questions without having to sparse people's feelings.
I agree.
This is the reason I use this product. But along those same lines, oftentimes those people who ask the question to the Facebook groups are simply looking for attention. I struggle with that to take them seriously. You've got to put in the minimum amount of work to find an answer.
Yep. Asking
100,000 or asking 3,000 contractors why one shingle is better than the other. Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
You're on a company. Go figure it out. We're not in high school on a message board right now.
I agree.
So I think there's a responsibility on the person and a responsibility on mentors to find each other.
Correct.
And that seems to have been lost lately. I think it's just become a society more of lazy contractors looking for lazy answers from people they don't know. That's where people get led wrong.
And what I think happens here too. So like when you think about let's use influencers as a word. A lot of the best ones never looked at it as a monetary value. They wanted influence. Like they wanted to help people, and that just their byproduct became money and monetization and all that stuff of it. But a lot of guys, is like you said, whether they're looking to make a negative comment to try to get something started, right, to get them some clout. But a lot of guys, I mean, and there's been some talk and everything about guys on stage and who shouldn't be there. I mean, at the end of the day, if we would mentor each other, right, and be open and honest, right, because if not, this industry is not going to ever die, but it's going to get a big black eye, and it already has one. But I think what's going to happen over the next 5 years, 10 years, it's the number of companies are going to cut in half. It's going to cut in half. Like if there's 10,000, there'll be 5,000, and they think I'm crazy. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the good guys are going to start winning again, right? The good guys are going to start winning again because what's happening, from the insurance side or from the IRS side, right? So now guys are not thinking about this whole 1099 model. IRS is coming after them, right? Because they're not getting their payroll taxes. They're finding a way to skirt the system. Sure. Right. And so it goes back to they got to be wanting to change. So it kind of goes full circle to where we started at. So that they've got to understand that change is coming, and they got to figure out the best way to navigate within that change.
Yeah, I've seen this complaint twofold online right now, and this happens in every industry. People complain about who makes it on stage.
Yeah.
I got a couple, let's just say in the past year, I've worked with 2 clients that, whether they say it or not, that's what they're really going for out of content.
Yeah, that's fine.
Stage time.
Stage time.
Cool.
Cool.
Some people work out because they want to get the girl. All right. Vanity is good. I mean, hey, maybe that'll push you to be better.
Love it.
But the thought that because, let's just say, somebody in here is, friends with Dimitri, and they get put on stage strictly because they're a friend, and that's not fair. Let me ask you a question. You know how hard it probably is to be a friend with Dimitri and be a contractor?
It'd be tough.
Because he's going to hold your ass accountable.
Exactly.
How many people would really want that responsibility?
Very
few. But they don't want to look at it that way.
Right.
He paid to be there. He paid to be there with what money? How did he make it?
Yeah.
You don't have that money, do you?
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. He paid $20,000 to be on stage, and you don't have $20,000 in the bank account, and it's his fault for taking advantage of that?
Right.
There's a different side to this that people, they get very easy to criticize, and they're not pointing the finger often at themselves because it's easier to look for the solution that out there.
Well, I think to the vanity point, though, like the speakers are needed, people are needed, stuff's needed. Like I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that some of the times, like, okay, so if we would rise up together with this mentorship stuff and just help guys, a lot of this crap would go away. They wouldn't have to have and look for this thing. Contractors are seeking for it, obviously, or there wouldn't be a market for it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a consumption of that product. Right. So if we didn't have to consume that product, right, then you wouldn't need to make that product. So at the end of the day, consumption needs to come down. We need to start helping each other. That's what I'm saying with it, is mentorship. Be open and honest. It might not be the direct competitor, right? So we've got a bunch of guys in Pittsburgh, right? I share a lot of stuff with them, right? But there's some stuff, some of the secret sauce I'll never share, right? Sure. But I'll share it with one of my guys in Florida or Nebraska or whatever, like, because they need to know the secret sauce. But most of the time, it's not about the secret sauce. It's discipline. Getting up every day, doing the right thing, making sure that you're consistent in what you're doing. Yeah. That's the key to it.
Yeah. It's funny how we're really good at consistency with things we love. We're not very good at consistency with things we don't.
Yeah.
I know that if I drink 20 drinks tonight, I'm going to be feeling pretty darn good. After the first one, I can keep on drinking things that I like. I'm very consistent with it because I like it.
Because you like it.
Yeah, but it works.
Right.
But, consistency with your business, someone like Jason with G.U.E.S.S Roofing, and he gives away the secrets for free, knowing one thing I've talked about. You ain't going to do it.
You ain't going to do it.
Because it's much tougher to do things day in, day out. Equipters right here next to us. People will complain to me, Well, I don't want to invest the money in an equipter.
Yep.
Well, he invested the money 24 times over because he knows that there's some pain to throw out that check, but the advantage to working with them is that, hey, it's going to pay dividends so that I continue to have more time. My people have more time to put on more roofs, and I make more money to hire more crews, and it's just repetitive.
Yep.
But no one wants to do it day in, day out. It's all good till you've actually got to write the check, so you got to stroke that to somebody. All that consistency and hard work crap is great until you got to do it at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that stops people. That separates people. Not knowledge, but the consistency of implementing it.
Yeah, well, it goes to, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, right? I'm not the most athletic guy in the room, but I'll beat you to the spot.
Yeah.
Because I'll hustle harder. And it's not just about hustle, right? I mean, hustle's not the thing, but I'll hustle harder. I'll stand at the free throw line and shoot, 10,000 shots, right? And I'm going to miss 9,000 of them, let's say, right, at first. But I keep shooting it. It's consistency. You can be good at anything you want to be good at, right? You just got to do it. That's, I mean, it's not even a Nike plug, but they got it right. Just do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's life. Just do it. You get up and you do it. And I'm a big Jocko fan. I follow him a lot. Yeah, I mean, I've read the books. I followed him. I understand a lot of his mentality. And that's really what he talks about is there's freedom and discipline. And most people don't understand that. But like when I think about like my time in the Marine Corps and stuff like that, but bringing that into the employee role, when you build a process that they don't have to think about, they just implement and they just do it, they have more time. It all goes back to time, right? So like I try to tell my sales reps, like, listen, like if you just have the discipline to do X, Y, and Z, work in the micro, right? The macro will always be there. Right, but you got to have the discipline to have that freedom.
We're going to be right back to that podcast, but first I have a question for all my blue-collar entrepreneurs out there. Were you surprised months back when Leap and Job Progress came under one roof? If you're anything like me, you surely were. I'm a huge fan of Job Progress on the show, and they've been a sponsor for a very long time. And so the integration of these two great companies was something that I wasn't sure was going to happen. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. I mean, take Job Progress. It was built by contractors for contractors. The Job Progress app, the best way to organize all of your data in one place. I mean, they had the stages and everything works out great there, and you can be in control of your business from anywhere. And then you've got Leap, the leader in in-home service, where you've got, let's say contracts and estimating, financing, ordering, everything there in one place. Two big companies coming together. So what exactly does that mean for a contractor out there? I surely had my questions. But since that time, I've been able to work alongside Leap to have those questions answered completely. These are two companies that have one goal in mind: to modernize software for the modern contractor, to bring everything together under one roof, and to make sure that people out there in the field have the best opportunity to not only close deals at the dining room table, but then be able to track those deals and deliver a great customer service experience to the people they're trying to help. There are a lot of other CRMs, and there are truly other in-home service companies that can provide services. But I challenge you to find one that has brought together such great powerhouses under one roof. I encourage contractors, if you're not happy with your CRM, if you're not happy with your workflow right now, why would you not get in touch with Leap? Why would you not let them walk you through a tutorial, show you the power of what bringing these two companies together can do and already has done for contractors across the country. This show is so proud to work alongside Leap in promoting their products because it works. And we were so proud for so many years now to work alongside Job Progress, knowing how much this company is completely committed to contractor success. I encourage you, please, folks, go over to leaptodigital.com. Again, that is leaptodigital.com. Let them know that Patrick sent you, and scale your company faster with a combination of these two great companies under one roof. And now, back to the podcast. I'll add something to that I've just learned very recently. How about having the discipline to understand yourself and what motivates you to do the things you don't want to do? Here's my example of that. That's a couple weeks back, a lot going on my plate, and I'm thinking at the gym, I'm like, okay, I got to get this done. I got to get this done when I get home. I got 3 things. I'm going through. And at the end of thinking about it for 5 minutes, you're like, It's tough, right? It's a lot. It overwhelms you
It's overwhelming. Yep.
because you're not you know what motivates you, but you haven't motivated yourself. So if you change your mindset when it comes to that, and you go, hold on, if I do this tomorrow at 2 p.m. when I'm cracking open a beer, I won't have to have that anxiety. And all of a sudden, it's like, embody that feeling of no anxiety, because I'm anxiety ridden. Right. And so if you can embody whatever motivates you and go, I don't have to do this work because I have to do it. Right. I should do it so that tomorrow I can enjoy that moment away. And if it's your kids, I get that time with my kids, and it flips how you look at a situation, because now it's not I have to do it. It becomes like, oh, I want to. Doing a task that you have to do is mind-numbingly terrible, because just when is it going to be over? But then you get to look at, when does the stuff that I'm doing this for begin? Right. And if you just change how you look at what you have in front of you, it can become an activity that you might actually enjoy, for lack of a better word.
So, I mean, it's kind of a parallel conversation, and it hit my mind. So I want to talk about it. I don't want to lose it. So it's kind of like in relationships, right? So, and let's talk about marriage, right? So like in my marriage. So, and if we go to the scripture side of things, and we can do that. But when you think about agape love, right? There's different kinds of love: agape love, philios love, eros love, right? Yeah. Everybody gets stuck in the emotion with the eros love thing. I feel it, right? We're in a society now to where if I don't feel it, I don't do it, right? It's not about emotion. Everything in life is wrapped around all the successful people that you see. They're not emotional. Like, I mean, everybody's emotional. Like, they'll cry, they go up and down, but they don't make decisions and live their daily life on an emotion, right? They do it on a decision. So it's weird to say this, and people will always, kick Andrew Tate, and he's a little bit out there on some things, but it's true. Love's a decision. Like, I decided to love my wife, because there's days that she hates me and I don't like her, right? You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is because of the emotion and the feeling of it. But I decided to get up, have that discipline, and do what I'm supposed to do as a husband, right? The same thing in my business. It's not, I can't drive it as an emotion. It's driven as a decision. I've got 50 families that I've got to feed. My decision is to get up and make sure that I give them my best every day. The same with my wife. I give her my best every day. And some days it's not as good as what it was yesterday, but I have to have that discipline to give my best. And so those things all come down to cognitively, you have to decide to just do it, right? So again, it wraps back to that. If you want more time, you got to have more money to be able to do that, the financial freedom of that. It's really more about having that time to give to the people that you need to give to, right? But it's a decision. You can't get wrapped up in the emotion of it, right?
Well, the emotion of it is what begins the conversation that paralyzes so many people. Mm-hmm. You get home and you're tired. Should I go to the gym today? I went yesterday. Yeah. I can go in the morning. Or what if I just do 2 tomorrow? Yep. And then the conversation happens because you don't make a decision. And in my opinion, once you have a conversation with yourself, you've already lost. Yep. Because in order to make a deal with yourself, you have to give. A deal comes when you concede, all right, on both sides. Now you're compromising with yourself as the deal, because if there's 2 voices, someone's got to get a compromise.
Somebody's got to win.
So maybe that is, I'll go to the gym. I do this. I fail it. This is one I have a lot. I get home at 7. Like, okay, if I get to the gym by 8, I'm fine. Out of there by 9, which really it's 9:45. I have to get out of there because then Publix closes at 10. Right. But I'll take a quick nap. Yeah. I'm tired. I've been working all day. Automatically, now I'm having a conversation. Right. Go to the gym, take a quick nap. Well, if I concede to the nap, I've now lost valuable time to work. Yep. And so what I've done is I've made a deal with myself, and I've lost right there. Instead of, as you say, take action, make a decision. And it comes with physical action, in my opinion. Correct. I need to go to the gym. Get up. Yep. Move. Whatever you got to do, get up and start taking that action so that you don't have the opportunity, I should say, to have that voice inside start to have a conversation with you.
What's the should and could? Should I go to the gym? Could I go to the gym? Right? It's no, I'm going to go to the gym, right? Or I'm going to go to the office, or I'm going to show up for my friend. That's the thing that, so like making that decision. So like, there's one thing that the last few years I've really tried to dial into, like making a conscious decision that if my wife calls, I answer. I don't care who I'm talking to. And it was a very difficult thing. And so just for the record, this is my 4th marriage. So I could I know how to make a lot of mistakes along the way, and I could blame them all for their part in it. But at the end of the day, it came down I didn't love myself, right? So when you break it down, and I say I finally found a woman, but I found a girl, a woman who loves me for me and supported me and pushed me. But again, it comes down to, you can't base those decisions off of emotion, right? Because there's days you want to kill each other. You know what I mean? There's days when you're like, oh, there goes that girl, or oh, there goes that guy, right? So the decision to love and the decision to be vulnerable in front of, it's tough to me. That's more manly than all this stuff that's wrapping up emotions. And when you start thinking about what goes on with men, right? And this is a male-dominated society, well, not society, but industry,
Sure.
right? Well, what happens with us is we were told, tough guys can't cry, right? You know what I mean? You're not supposed to cry. We have nobody to go to. That's the mentorship part of it. We got nobody to go to. Like, I don't know what to do with my taxes, or what to do with my wife, or what to do with my kids, but I got to make this decision, right? And you're dealing with all this pressure and stress and stuff, and that's why the suicide rate is so high in men, right? I mean, it's exponentially more than women, because we deal with this crap and we're told we got to be the warrior, right? I'm not saying don't be a warrior. Like, I'd rather be the warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, right? I'm there, right? But, and if we go to the Jordan Peterson side or the Joe Rogan side here, I could go down that path with it. I agree with it. Like, you have to be that guy, but you have to be vulnerable enough to your family, to your friends, that they know who you are. And they know when you're in pain, right? You have to show pain. It's tough. It's freaking tough to show pain.
It is. I mean, I've had this, this one I'm torn on, because healthy wise inside, does it feel better? Yeah, it does. But there are so many people who take advantage of weakness, in this world. You show a little bit of weakness to somebody,
but it's your circle of trust, man.
That's right. Let's say, I think it goes back to the example we use, the 5 people around you, that can actually give you advice, and they're worth telling that
you can be vulnerable to.
Yeah, because so many people will celebrate quietly your demise.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm sorry. In the back of their mind, they're a friend going, I don't know, like, kind of cool that it finally, I never liked his material anyway. I never liked Ugly Roof anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of makes me feel a little better about myself.
Yeah.
We went on the Jordan Peterson side. He says, be careful who you share good and bad news with.
100%.
Because you can tell a lot about that. You're talking about decisions, though, and I'm going to work through this in my head with you as we talk. I think one of the best ways to make better decisions is to make that decision a part of your character. So the example I use is, when I walk around here, everybody will say something about, you look big, great arm, the arms and the size and the bodybuilding and all that.
Did you skip arm day this week?
Yeah. But it becomes, what's happened is that over the years, that part of me is a character part of me.
Right.
It's who I am.
Right.
It's like, I couldn't, if I gained 200 pounds, that wouldn't be my person. It can't happen because it's not a part of my character.
Right.
And so what's happened is that good decisions, momentary good decisions, what they do is they build and have momentum.
Right.
And then they become a part of your character, your routine. They're who you are. And some people take a lot of pride, and they'll protect who they are for a lot.
But I would challenge that and say that that's not your character. That's your reputation. That's what that's how other people see you.
Okay,
right.
You could be different. Yeah, I get it.
So it's a little bit different. So, like, I mean, if you gain the 200 pounds tomorrow, right, and whatever, like, who are you still? Right? Does that change who that you are? I mean, what if you get sick or injured and you can't do it anymore? That doesn't change your character, right? That could change how other people perceive you.
Sure could.
Right? But guess what? They're not in that inner circle, right? If they change how they see you, they're not your friend, right? They don't know who Patrick Carr really is. They don't know who Jon Broce really is. It's the character. It's who you are when nobody's looking. It's the giving person that you are. I mean, I'll love to give you crap all the time too, right?
Yeah.
Did you skip leg day, right?
Right.
It's more just to razz and have fun.
I love it.
But at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't care if that was gone out of Patrick tomorrow. That's kind of an identity right now, but it's a season, right? That's the identity right now, and your reputation, character, integrity, and reputation in my world are 3 different things.
So what if I lost that, and let's say somebody out there, they lose that side of them. Mm-hmm. They own their business, and the business goes bankrupt. They knew it was going to happen, but that was their identity.
Right.
Or their reputation. They were great in business, and now their business is bankrupt.
Right.
I wonder how many of those people, if that was to happen, or if it's you who's a viewer, If you took away your reputation, would you know your own identity?
Correct. That's it.
That's where things get deep.
That's tough.
Because if your identity is built in your reputation,
yes,
and that's all that it is,
yes,
then you've lost track of who you don't know who you are.
correct.
Because it's only the reputation and the judgment of others which is determining how you think about yourself. Because you're then saying, okay, my identity is the fact that I'm a great person in business.
Right.
I've got a successful company is my
Right.
reputation.
Right.
And that embodies into the identity. Well, who are you when that company doesn't do well?
I love it.
And maybe it's a good thought to have that your true identity is your reputation that's removed.
Correct.
Because then you've only got one, you're peeling back that layer, that onion. That's where it becomes really hard to look at
Right.
yourself, right?
Right. So it goes back to something we talked about in the last podcast that nobody got to see. Right.
My fault.
That's okay. Is how do you measure success, right? And so when we talked about it before, it was still fresh. My dad had just passed away, and we were working through that thing.
Sure.
But how do you measure success? A lot of people measure their success based on these things that you talk about, the superficial things in my mind, right? Of how much money I made, how big is the company, blah, 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 right? My dad kept it simple, and I'm trying to get emotional again. When he passed away, I saw it come fulfilled, right? He said, I measure success when my kids don't have to rent pallbearers.
I remember that saying.
Right?
Yeah.
How deep is that? How emotional can that get, right? So when we show up to his wake and everything, like it was a 2-hour wake or 3-hour wake, it wound up being 5 hours. People were wrapped around the building to come see this guy, right? He touched that many people, right? Now, were they all in his inner circle? No, but he influenced that many people by just being some dumb sheep roofer, right? I mean, he was a sheep farmer, right, and a roofer. So I mean, that's where all my stuff comes from, right? But he touched that many people because he took time to give to people. Not always the kindest person in certain situations, but the people that he touched, right? That I'll say that was deserving of his time and care. They showed up, right? And that's the way I look at it. Is like I want to show up for my friends. I want to show up for my circle. When they need me, I want to be there, right? Because when I'm dead and gone and they're carrying me to the grave and they're going to chuck me in the clay, I want to make sure that my kids don't have to rent pallbearers. My success is measured on that. And it was really hard to understand most of my life until I saw the fulfillment of it, right? And it's big. I mean, I'm at a better place now with it, right? Because there's been a lot of firsts and, we're a year later on this. But it's the truth. Like, if you measure success with these superficial things, you're never going to meet it. It'll never be enough. And so don't get me wrong here. Like, you've got to have financial freedom to be able to help others, right? So I'm a big, I believe that. But you'll never get there until you genuinely care about the people and the process and the mission that you have.
As I sit here thinking about it, and I can't help but think that perhaps innocently and without, I don't think your dad thought about this, but he made his success measurable.
Correct.
Now, measurable would mean with no pallbearers that you had to rent.
Correct.
There's a number on that, maybe 6.
It's 6, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So without doing, people think like, okay, maybe that's subjective. It's not.
It's not. It's objective.
It's not how many people showed up to see him or to see him off, in other
Right.
words.
Yeah.
It's that I have people in my life that were close enough to me that they're willing to carry me over that line
100.
right there.
100.
And success has to be, in my opinion, measurable, or yet the target will always change.
Always changes.
And if that measurable goal is a number, if it's but somebody should know when a project is successful, when your roofing company is successful, or your business, or
there's
your
metrics there.
Yeah, there's metrics.
There's metrics.
And I think a lot of people would overlook the metrics that your father laid out.
Right.
And because it's a story and it's tough to think about. But success for somebody out there, you may not be getting it because you haven't put a metric to it.
Got to put a metric to it.
We talk about, I'm not going to talk about, that's probably some sensitive topic to talk about out there, and thanks, YouTube. But I'll tell you off camera another one. But success at a conference like this. Yeah. If you just say it's going to be successful, 1,000 people, 2,000, right. What is success? Or the target is going to be ever moving. And
So
that's
is
not
a
fair.
success there's 2,000 people here?
Oh, good point.
Or is there the success that 100 walked away and made their lives better? How do you measure it?
That's tough.
Right?
Yeah, it's tough. How do you?
But which one's more valuable?
Man, I guess then you go down the rabbit hole of what do you value the most?
What do you value the most? Time,
Yeah.
treasure, talent?
Do you value money? Like, because if so, I'm sure the 2,000 people rather than the 10 of, if you had 12 that came and 10 walked away from something,
Right.
That would be foolish.
Reggie Brock, he says it's the best. He says, when I'm there speaking to people, it's 25 people, I might be there to talk to one person.
Yeah.
That's why I'm there. Right. So it's the same thing in my life. Like, I've been through a lot. Like, I could talk about a lot of stuff that, as far as custody, kids, death, I mean, everything's there. Everybody goes through crap, but I don't believe that we go through all this crap just to go through all this crap. Right. There's a reason behind it. Right. So if I get down into that, so that's where the depression and anxiety is, right? If you're living in the past, it's depression. If you're living in the future, it's anxiety. If you want peace and joy, live in the present, because it could be gone right now, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dustin Bigler, right? I mean, that's a big topic right now with this conference. It could be gone tomorrow, right? And how do you measure his success? I didn't see one person like, well, he built a $400 million company. The dude gave to you when you needed it. No. Like, I could pick up the phone and call him, and we weren't best friends, but he was a mentor, right? I mean, I talked to him 2 or 3 times, ever. But I picked up the phone one day. It's like, you know what? I'm going to call Dustin. Like, let's see what he has to say about this. He's like, man, I'm so glad you called me. Like, he greeted it with such energy, right? So he's not remembered by Apple and Crest and the stuff that he did. He will be remembered some of that, but he's remembered by his person and who he was and the impact that he left.
Yeah. And you've got to do that for people. So I think about him losing that example.
Yeah.
The fact is this, that he's gone, and the things in his life perhaps that he was most known for are already being stripped away.
Mm-hmm.
That's finance. That's big-time company. That's your investment firms that are coming in there and going, we got a job to do. Now it's where does this go now?
They had to hire somebody 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
They had to.
It moves on quickly.
They had to.
And so your legacy in those things fades very quickly. And if that's all that you did, nobody here would be mentioning Dustin Bigler.
Correct.
Because everything there is gone. Not saying it's like, hope people understand I'm making a bigger point.
Right.
The company's not gone. The people there are not gone. And I'm sure they'll be very successful.
But he's replaced.
But he's replaced.
Unfortunately, to say it that way, but he's replaced because the company has to continue because there's 10,000 families. I mean, I don't know what they feed, but they got a big company, right? It's the same thing here, whether it's 50 or 50 families or it's 100 families or 1 million families. You've got a duty to feed those families and to make that legacy carry on. So he set it up. I mean, from what you can see, that Apple will continue without him.
Sure.
So his success is, sure, he made Apple and he made this brand, but his success is that I could pick up the phone as some little guy was in West Virginia one day and said, hey, I just wonder how you do this, right? And him answer the daggone phone and be like, man, I'm glad you called me. Let's meet up one day. Let's really chat, right? That's how I remember Dustin, and that's how I want to be remembered. It's like, that's the guy that one day, like, he really helped, like what you said, like, I walk in, like, I'm genuinely, I'll give you a hug, right? Cool. I'm a hug guy, right? I don't know why. It might be the Baptist in me when I was growing up, right? But I like to hug. Like, you got to, and to me, that's the best transition of the feeling of, like, I really love you, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I want to help you however I can. And so that's what I want to be remembered by, right? Is that when I walked into a room, I brought joy. When I walked out of the room, that's not when I brought joy. It was when I walked out of the room.
But I think you mentioned that earlier, and the only thing I would say is perhaps walking in, but the out part is that when people miss your presence there.
Well, but that's not joyful. Yeah. I mean, it's not. If I miss you, it's. I mean, I have the remnants
you
of
impacted them.
Yeah.
The impact that you make on people is so strong that when you're not around, that they go, man, that energy left. Because somebody else, you would hope that you energize and you motivate the people and you inspire them when they walk in. But some people can't because they're not ready for that time in their life. But they can sit there and go, wow, there was something special about that person.
Right.
And so I understand the analogy of leaving and walking in or leaving.
Right.
But with an energy and a passion that you bring to meeting someone and how you make them feel when it's strong enough, they'll remember you. And maybe that remembrance is maybe a better word.
Yeah, it's
that they remember and they see you next. They go, I remember how that guy made me feel.
That's 100%.
Yeah,
that's everything.
And so I think
they might not remember my name. They might not remember what I talked about. They might not remember my company, right? So even as a sales rep, right? So when I'm a sales rep and I'm in the home, they're not going to. They might never remember it's MHI or roofing or ugly roof or whatever. They go, you know what? I like that guy because he made me feel X.
Yeah.
Right. So people remember that stuff. So that's what you want to be remembered for, if you will.
Love that, man. I got to take a minute and thank one of my sponsors here who make this happen. The company is Ugly Roof. And if you
where's that guy at? Where's that guy at? That's great.
No, but I want to talk about your company,
man.
Yeah,
man. Let's do it.
I mean, we could do all this, Jordan Peterson stuff we want, but let's Ugly Roof, man. I talk about it every single week on here. Now people get a chance to see you.
Yeah.
I hope that individuals truly see why this is such a special company. It's the product is amazing, but you and Ty, well, you all are special. And I know you put out a great product, but for somebody who's been under a rock, what is Ugly Roof, man? Give me a quick rundown of Ugly Roof, so I don't have to do the minute and a half here.
Yeah, so Ugly Roof is a roof rejuvenation process. We have the product. It comes out of Western Pennsylvania, right? So when you think about roof rejuvenation, which nobody probably has, most people have no idea what it is. It's about resaturating those shingles and putting them back to like new condition. Mm-hmm. So what the initiative is, what the mission is not to insert ourselves and say, don't install any more new roofs. This is a help meet, if you will, for contractors to get in front of more customers, but also do the right and ethical thing. Okay. Right. So if the roof is repairable and let's say it's brittle and there's some adhesion issues, our product can fix that. They can repair the roof and we can fix with those issues. I mean, basically that's what it is. Some roofers look at us as like you're taking money out of my pocket because I can't install that roof. Well, actually it's contrary to that, right? So we're actually putting more money in our pockets as a roofing contractor. And I captured this customer for 2 or 3 more sales cycles.
Yes.
Right. So it's no longer one and done. And then you wait on another storm or whatever, right? So that's pretty much what it is, and we help train contractors, like the methodology behind it, how to sell in the home. We give them a sales presentation, all that fun stuff. So.
Yeah, man, I've always looked at it. I continue to say it on the ads that been 2 ways to do roofing: repairing or replacing. That's all you're doing. But now you're adding a third thing in there. You can rejuvenate this thing.
Yep.
Because sometimes you might need a minor repair on the roof.
Yep.
But you don't need to replace the thing. You could do the minor repair. You could rejuvenate the shingle and have a great roof for another 5-10 years plus.
Yeah, or longer.
Because what's happened, especially in these, all across the country, whether it be with snow or sun or rain, whatever it might be, the granulation, the stick, all that stuff, the lifted shingles and stuff, that you all can really bring life back to shingles. And it's not a gimmick, man.
Not at all.
I've gotten up on roofs with you and seen, like people go, oh, shoot. This is actually works. Like I've been doing roofing for 50 years. I thought this was a gimmick.
What, Jason's dad?
Yeah, Jason's dad. Yeah. But I did
That's the best story ever.
Yeah, we're gonna spray some stuff on a roof, and all of a sudden, stop,
Come
guys.
On, snake oil.
But I remember the guy. I'm thinking to myself, man. I mean, you're coming out there to prove that you're the snake oil salesman. Like
I love skepticism, because like I was skeptic. So like I'm a very analytical person, right? So when it comes to making those types of decisions and investments and what are we going to do and how do we build this product, like our goal was to make the best product on the market with the most active ingredient, right, to make sure that this thing actually has full saturation, right? So because when you start looking at, we're not the first guys, right? The competitors not the first guys. It was actually done in late 90s, early 2000s. A patent was written in 2002, and then it ran out in 2014. So they were way ahead of their time, right? Before there was an issue with asphalt flux. The reason why this is becoming, like why shingles are at the tip of their bell curve and they're going to start coming down as far as installation is because of asphalt flux. We've got so good in the manufacturing processes now that a lot of this asphalt flux, so a lot of it is being used now in biofuels, right? Yeah. So it's being sold off in other things. So the dirty, the mucky, the rest of the asphalt flux that's left is what is actually going to the shingle manufacturers. So the shingle manufacturers are trying to make up for this. And I mean, and all in good faith. They're trying to do the right thing and add polymers and do what they can to make this stuff better. But there's only so much flux. There's only so much asphalt now, right? So we're limited to how much crude oil that we're with production now, right? And we're trying to cut those things down. So economically, you start seeing those things. But when it comes down to the quality of asphalt shingles, I agree that it has gone down. But I do think that there's other technologies that's in those that people aren't looking at. I do think there's a bell curve, and I think that you're going to start seeing the synthetics come back, right? Because right now it's 80% of most homes, I think is the number. 75 or 80% have shingles.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's an affordable option.
To build with.
Yeah. Right? So, but once you see this bell curve of the synthetics kind of getting the same price range as that, then that's when I think that'll push over the hill there. So we're going to have an epidemic of roofing, right, in 15 years of what do I do with all these shingles that are on these roofs? Because now it's 50% of the market instead of 80, right?
Yeah, but I like how you're positioned, though. I mean, you've got MHI, a great roofing company. So what I like about you all is you're not using this as the primary source to go, we need roof rejuvenation to work or else.
Correct.
And that's why I've liked you guys from the beginning is that I like people who, you know what, they're doing something because it works. It's worked for their company. And if it's not their thing. It's not, we have to do this.
Right.
It's ugly roof or don't repair, don't replace, only rejuvenate.
Correct.
What you're offering contractors and homeowners an affordable option to get some more life out of the roof. Contractors, a high profit margin out there.
Correct.
To be able to turn over jobs and offer different services that others in your industry are not offering.
Right.
So now you've positioned yourself as a provider of something others aren't.
Correct.
You build trust with a homeowner and giving them something good in return, man. I mean, it's a good product.
Yeah, and there's a data point that we could put in there too. So like what we found over the last 4 years inside of MHI as our case study with it is homeowners decide to go with a new roof 70% of the time. So if they're presented both options 70% of the time, it's, you know what, let's go with the new roof. So it's not a all or die situation like you said. It's like we want to go in there and actually be the ethical person and say, listen, like you qualify to do this, right? So let's, here's your option. Do you want to, is it 5,000 here or 20,000 with a new roof? You're going to get 5 more years, possibly 10 to 15 if we go this route, right? With this new roof, you can get, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the number is.
Yes.
Right? So you leave it up to the homeowner to make that decision and they feel more empowered. But you're also doing the ethical thing because you can also say, listen, Mr. Jones, like, after looking at all these pictures, can you agree that this roof's just not repairable?
Yeah, you're
right?
giving them that option.
You give them the option, but sometimes you don't give them any options, but you gave them an option for me to look at it, right? But there's just times when you can't repair a roof, right? It's too badly installed, it's too far gone, the degranulation, whatever the situation is, but there's just times you just can't. But the data set that we have is 70% of the time they're choosing new roofs. So what does that mean in the market? So does that change in the next 10 years? Probably, right? And does that change in recession times? Probably.
Sure.
Right? But over the 4 years, that's what we've seen with it in MHI. As just a quick, it might be 69.2 or whatever, but but the 70-30 split is what we're seeing, that they're going to a new roof. I don't think that every roof in this country is rejuvable, if that's a word, right? Like, I don't think 80% of them are. Like, I honestly think it's in that 20 to 40%, right? Because of poor craftsmanship. But because that is an epidemic of its own, is just poor craftsmanship. So why would I go spray a roof that I know is going to fail? It's going to leak anyway.
Yeah. That's the tough part with ugly roof is that, of course, you want to go ahead and put it on. It's going to make the roof look great. It's a high profit margin, but as a contractor, you have to fight against using it too much.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have to walk away from a job if all they can afford is that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do justice to the homeowner that's in front of you.
Do the right thing.
That's right.
They should do the right thing.
How do people get in touch with you, bro? I know it, but I was going to say it right now.
Uglyroof.com. Yeah, just go there, and there's a couple of spots there, like the become a dealer spot. You can go in there if you want to reach out to us.
Yeah.
And again, like it's more about doing the right thing with a roofing contractor, right? And for the homeowner. I mean, our vision is to help the homeowner first, right? And by doing that, you got to train the contractor on what to look for.
I love it, man.
Don't just sell juice. And that kind of pigeonholes me too, right? Because like I make more money selling juice with Ugly Roof than when I don't selling juice with Ugly Roof.
Yeah.
But not every roof needs to be rejuvenated. So that would be our story with it. Is like do the right thing. You know?
So easy, man. Just do the right thing in
Do the
life.
right thing
and
in
life
life,
becomes a lot more easy, a lot more peace of mind. It's John. It's Ugly Roof. You've heard me talk about him every week on this show. It's because I love the people. And these guys are truly people driven. I'm watching Ty behind over here, emotionally explaining this thing to people. He's putting his drink down. He's like bringing the life back in all over the roof. I can read what he's saying right now. And you don't get that with other products.
I love it.
So if you want to bring life back on top of the surface, all over, I mean, literally, that's what he's saying right now.
Yeah.
So the emotion that he puts in behind it, you guys, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
For a couple things, for what you put out, for your friendship, and for your sponsorship of the show.
Yeah.
All this is possible because of people like you and people like Equipped right here. We can't have these conversations without you. So I appreciate y'all's support very much. Thank you.
So on our end, we love your message. We love Patrick as a person, first of all. So when we want to do those types of things, sure, it gets exposure.
Sure.
But it's more about we love your message and what you do for the community. You know,
right.
not just this industry, but the community. So the passion that we enjoy is seeing you. I don't know, like all the stuff that we've seen, like with whatever happens with the new laws and this stuff, and like it's real because it's passionate and it's real and it affects you personally. I want to invest in things like that in life, to invest in people, whether it's time, treasure, talent, right? We want to invest in those things because we know that that's what's better for the community.
I'll leave it right there, man. Thank you very much, John.
Appreciate it, brother.
I love these talks so very much. All right.
Right.
I value them.
Good.
Until next time, everybody. All right. Go check it out. uglyroof.com.
All right, man. Appreciate it.